Good morning, students. I welcome you all for the online class of business studies. As we were learning in the last class, the staffing, today we will be going to learn the staffing process. As you are not aware, the prime concern of the staffing function is the management process in the timely fulfillment of the manpower requirements within an organization. These requirements may arise episodically, as in case of starting a new business or expanding the existing one, or they may arise as a matter of the need for replacing those who quit, retire, or are transferred or promoted from or are fired from the job. In these few lines, it has been explained staffing is required when a person wants to start a new business. Definitely, for starting a business, people will be required, or at the time when the people want to expand the business. Then also for expanding the business, resources will be needed, and for increasing the resource, with the increase in resources, human power also have to be increased. Second, where we need the staffing process is the when one person gets retired from the job, or when we take out any person from the job. In place of that people's, new person has to be appointed, and that all places what is needed, staffing is needed. In any case, need for the right person for the right job hardly needs an over emphasis, but just has a phrase water everywhere and not a drop to drink amplifies the fact that despite two-thirds of the earth being water, drinkable water is a scarce commodity. So may also be said of finding the right person for the right job. There are so many persons qualified with so many degrees, but the thing is that every person will not be qualified or matched with the job which we are having. As such, it is important to appreciate staffing is a process that starts from understanding the manpower requirements within the organization and identifying the potential sources from where it can be met, either from within the organization or from outside. And given that the right person is scarce, there is need to market the job and the organization to the people. Even in situations where a single job vacancy might attract a few hundreds of the applicants, there is a challenge of selecting the most appropriate one. Freshly appointed persons might need orientation training to familiarize them to the way the things are done in an organization. And in case they have been selected only on the basis of academic qualifications and aptitude for learning, they might need training in specific skills as well. For example, if one is selected by a business process outsourcing, that is a BPO, as we learnt in class 11 unit, by virtue of being extrovert and well versed in English speaking, one needs to be trained in the relevant business processes, telephone conversation etiquettes, as well as diction adaptation before actual placement. The employee's experiences during orientation and placement from his her first impression of the organization. Even whilst on the job, the employees need training for upgradation of knowledge and skills and for preparing for higher responsibilities. So, staff training and development is another important aspect of the staffing process. What follows is a brief description of the above stages. So, very first thing is needed estimating the manpower requirement. In this manpower requirement estimation, we find is that how many peoples are needed for the vacant job position, so that when we will sit for doing the appointment of people, there no confusion must be there that we have to appoint 4 or 5 people. A clear thought must be there that how many people's for how many people selection we are sitting there, so that we can appoint the right person for the right job. You are aware that while designing the organizational structure, we undertake an analysis of the decisions and decision making levels, activities, as well as relationship among them, with a view to evolving the horizontal and vertical dimensions of the structure. Thus, various job positions are created. Clearly, performance of each job necessitates the appointment of a person with a specific set of educational qualifications, skills, prior experience, and so on. Thus, understanding manpower requirement is not merely a matter of knowing how many persons we need, but also of what type. Given that we need to encourage women, persons from backward communities, and persons with special abilities, such as physically challenged, visually and hearing impaired, to assume responsible position in our organization, there is a need to understand, and if they need to be, to redefine manpower requirement accordingly. In this particular few lines, it has been said, when we are sitting for appointing of a person, we must know how many jobs are vacant in our organization. In that job vacancy, how many peoples we want, and out of that vacant post, how many will be reserved for women, how many will be reserved for the physically disabled peoples, and how many for the other categories of people, so that after the selection removal, a person will not be there from the job. Operationally, understanding the manpower requirements would necessitate workload analysis on the one hand and workforce analysis on the other. What is workload analysis? Workload analysis would enable an assessment of the number and types of human resource necessary for the performance of various jobs and accomplishment of organizational objectives. Like for a carpentry work, for the cutting of wood into pieces, how many people are needed? Two or three. That must be known. That itself is known as workload analysis. It means what is the load of the work and how many people are needed for completing that workload. That estimation is known as workload analysis. Workforce analysis would reveal the number of and type available. It shows that how many people actually we are having for that particular job. So workforce analysis tells actual number of people already appointed for the job. In fact, such an exercise would reveal whether we are understaffed or overstaffed or optimally staffed. What is understaffed? When already the work has been started, like I said, give an example, like for a carpentry work. In this carpentry work, how many people are needed for wood cutting? If the project is big, definitely more people will be needed, and if the project is less, then definitely less people. So if more number of people are appointed than the work, definitely it is overstaffing, and when less number of people are appointed as compared to the work, it is known as understaffing. So that too must be compared, and optimally how many staff required for the vacancy, it must be seen. It may be pointed out that neither overstaffing nor understaffing is a desirable situation. Why? Because overstaffing, many people will be not doing the work and sitting just because already people are there who are needed for the job, and more people for the same type of job, it is just wastage of resources. Understaffing, it will be burden over the people, like 5 people are needed for a particular job but 4 have to do it, will be wastage of time and wastage of money. So that all things have to be seen while doing the staffing. Staffing is a desirable situation. Can you think why? In fact, this exercise would form the basis of the subsequent staffing actions. A situation of overstaffing somewhere would necessitate employee removal or transfer elsewhere. A situation of understaffing would necessitate the starting of the recruitment process. However, before that can be done, it is important to translate the manpower requirements into specific job description and the desirable profile of its occupant. The desired qualifications, experience, personality, characteristics, and so on. This information becomes the base for looking for potential employees. The second step of staffing is, after the estimating manpower requirement, is the recruitment. Recruitment may be defined as the process of searching for prospective employees and stimulating them to apply for jobs in the organization. In simple terms, recruitment means to make advertisement for the vacant job position so that people can come to know that vacancy is there and they can apply for the vacant job position. That itself is known as recruitment. Here selection is not done. Selection is after the recruitment process. Recruitment just making the people attract or invite for the vacant job position in the organization. The information generated in the process of writing the job description and the candidate profile may be used for developing the situations vacant. Advertisement. The advertisement may be displayed on the factory office gate, or else it may be got published in print media or flashed in electronic media. This step involves locating the potential candidate or determining the sources of potential candidates. In fact, there are a large number of recruitment avenues available to a firm, which would be discussed later. When we talk about the various sources of recruitment, the essential objective is to create a pool of the prospective job candidates. Both internal and external sources of recruitment may be explored. Internal sources may be used to a limited extent. For fresh talent and a wider choice, external sources are used. Selection. It is a process of choosing from among the pool of the prospective job candidates developed at the stage of recruitment. In simple terms, selection is a process where we are selecting from the number of people who had applied for the post the right person for the right job. That itself is known as selection. Even in case of highly specialized jobs where the choice space is very narrow, the rigor of the selection process serves two important purposes. The very first purpose, it ensures that the organization get the best among the available, and second, it enhances the self-esteem and prestige of those selected and conveys to them the seriousness with which the things are done in the organization. The rigor involves a host of tests and interviews described later. Those who are able to successfully negotiate the test and the interviews are offered an employment contract, a written document containing the offer of employment, the terms and conditions, and the date of joining. So these all things are mentioned in the selection. Placement and orientation. As already we said, selection has been done. Definitely we will give appointment letters to the people so that on a particular date they can come to the job and they can start doing work with our organization. That itself is known as placement and orientation. Joining a job marks the beginning of socialization of the employee at the workplace. The employee is given a brief presentation about the company and he is introduced to his superiors, subordinates, and the colleagues. He is taken around the workplace and given the charge of the job for which he has been selected. This process of familiarization is very crucial and may have a lasting impact on his decision to stay and on his job performance. Orientation is thus introducing the selected employee to the other employees and familiarizing him with the rules and policies of the organization. Placement refers to the employee occupying the position or post for which the person has been selected. So this itself is known as orientation and placement. Orientation is different from placement. Placement, we are giving a letter of appointment to the person, and so date the person will get placement on that particular vacant job position. Orientation is a way by which we are introducing the person to be known by the existing employees, and also we introduce the new person with the existing employees. That process is known as orientation. We make the person familiarize with the existing employees so that he or she will be free to do the work without any hesitation with the existing employees. So that is known as orientation. So this was the process of staffing. In this last step, after orientation, the person needs some training and development if they are not having that. What people seek is not simply a job but a career. Everyone must have the opportunity to rise to the top. The best way to provide such an opportunity is to facilitate employee learning. Organizations have either in-house training centers or have forged alliances with training and education institutions to ensure continuing learning of their employees. The organizations too benefit in return. If employee motivation is high, their competencies are strengthened. They perform better and thus contribute more to organizational effectiveness and efficiency. By offering the opportunities for career advancement to their members, organizations are not only able to attract but also retain its talented people. Thus, we see that as a process, staffing includes acquisition, retention, and development of the most important resource of an organization, thus that is its human capital. So that was the process of staffing. Aspect of staffing. There are three important aspects of staffing. The very first, recruitment, second, selection, and the third is training. We will be going through the recruitment in the next video. Today's class will get over with this staffing process. Prepare the notes of this staffing process so as for the exam purpose. Next class we will be learning the aspect one by one in one videos. First we will be completing the recruitment, then we will be going through selection and the training, and that makes our chapter to get over. So let keep this recruitment for the next class. Thank you.